to the Looniversity, the place where I share my Looniverse theories with you. In this video, as it says in the title, I am going to analyze Loona's midnight era, specifically Why Not and its teasers. Let's start with the first teaser. 12 o'clock. This teaser is for Loona's fourth comeback after multiply and hash. What a journey. Loona are 12 members, and Loona o'clock is 12 o'clock. Firstly, let's comment the intro and compare it with the past intros, of course. You can see the black and white backgrounds like in So What, but that's the only similar thing. In 12 o'clock, the moon opens from the right side to the left side, and the colors are going in reversed order, from Olivia's gray to Heejin's pink. As you saw, while Hi's intro was the most similar to So What, Butterflies is the most similar to Why Not. The reason why the colors are reversed in the Butterfly and Why Not intros is because right before them Hi and So What went in reverse. While the way the moon opens could explain the places that each era takes in, and the black backgrounds are there because the dark side of the moon is discovered. If you take the combinations as they are, each era takes place in a more expanded place of the Looniverse, which we will see. This teaser is basically showing us the hour in many places around the world when it turns 12 o'clock in Seoul, Korea. Many of them having references from the past of Loona's music videos. We can hear a clock sound and a man talking.
Discovery Houston, we're still looking at it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter test. This is Houston, contact with a test. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This audio was taken from NASA's Library of Space Audio, which you can hear specifically from Space Shuttle Discovery era. Here is the definition if you want. The audio isn't necessarily from only one mission but more than one. Basically, they played with the wording of carrying into orbit, which is the spacecraft, so it sounds like Loona is on their way to orbit. But we could hear that in the end something was glitching again. That's why the beeps, because something went wrong probably. Let's continue with the second and last teaser before the MV. The title track is called Why Not, similar to So What, isn't it? Here we have scenes that I will explain separately in the music video. I have to point out that some of the scenes are in reversed, as if they want to go to an exact point in time. Here I will put a few important things we need to know before the music video. Some parts are opposites of the past, like cherries. In the end, in the reverse scene, you can see black Converses. Remember, the intro is the opposite of Hi, where they had white Converses, but I am not going to say that they are now in the opposite side of the place in Hi, because that is not true. Why Not takes place in a different area. The Looniverse expanded due to the discovery of the back of the moon. Let's move on the music video. You know the deal, we are starting by reading the description. At first it says the same thing as So What. The new thing is that Loona is creating a new wave of change in the Looniverse. Beyond imagination, they are taking action to realize their true roles. They are holding a midnight festival. This explains that very well. Loona is waiting for the new moon to start a new cycle apparently, so they can restart their story. Right, we can also see that it says the phrase with all Loonas around the world, now they are with us. It's not a message nor a gift. This is the festival that we are hosting together. See? Here it says it is a new space. After that it describes the album sonically, so let's watch the music video together and see everything, knowing that a change is coming in the Looniverse.
Okay, nice to be in orbit.
So firstly we see a car circling or looping around Olivia. She starts Why Not like she started So What, and it is interesting because she is the last member. The car has flames, like in So What. Who is the one riding it? In the shortcut after that we can see two sides of the moon, or is it just two different cycles? What I wanted to say about Olivia is that if you watched my last video you will realize that, in the past lyrics of Oh Yes I Am and Day and Night that were related to her, it mentioned someone circling her all day, so she stays up all night. That's why we need to know who is driving, but for now we know that it represents the loop, which is the moon too.
아무 발걸 다 말하지 대답을 빼앗거나 입을 닫지 그 아랫게 물린 붉게 물든 lips 굳이 숨기지 않을 반항기 나로 발걸 좀 다르지 딴 애들처럼 아주 반드시 칼같이 잘린 똑단 발머리 나는 울리지 않을 뿐이지.
Just after that we see Heejin, who is the first member after the last member. Okay, something that I will mention now is that you can see the things in the sides. These are different from the past title tracks, which proves once again that this is taking place in a different space. Now we see Heejin with a thunder behind her. She looks unfeathered as if she caused it. She looks like a goddess, which she kind of is since she colored the world. You can see behind her that the sun is setting down, so midnight comes. Also the lightning is quite special. The grass looks red, thanks to it. It reminds us of fire before anything else. It gives a sentiment of evilness, since she also says I'm a bad girl, and this verse is similar to hers in So What too. Then when she looks up we surprisingly see Chayri, again following the fruit bat character, because she is upside down sitting in a mirror. She is in a place that is also similar to her solo Love Cherry Motion, where she was also sitting in a mirror. Now let's talk about the differences. In Love Cherry Motion the mirror was round, like her assigned shape. Here it is not, it is a square. Remember in the last comeback she was Hyejine's twin? Here she isn't with her, but the mirror shape is Hyejine's. It's maybe showing that they are still mirrors. She also has fire surrounding her, reminding us that they burned their selves, right? This part is different. She says she isn't bad, she is a little different, even though it is contradicting because the scene is giving that feeling of evilness, and the cuts and zooms give the feeling of something waking up in them. In her solo the thing that was upside down was the tree, remember? Did she burn it? At the end of her solo there was a tree with a unique shape. It was similar to the Mobius strip. If it burned, it confirms once again the breaking of the loop, but even after that it will get more complicated. Well, the conclusion I am going to take is that this image of evilness is maybe because we are on a darker side of the Looniverse, just like we see in the next scene.
Let's pump it up. Yeah. 다 똑같지. 재미있잖아.
Kim Lip, with moons around her in a place full of grass. 3 moons that maybe represent the odd eye circle moons like the ones we see in the end of Love Cherry Motion. They are going around her and she has a scared look. It is nighttime when the moon shines the brightest. She is wearing all white and has her hair blonde like in Odd Eye Circle's era. In that same era you can see how she restarted the loop. Well, I think Kim Lip controls time somehow because of what we saw in Girlfriend, the red clock in Heart Attack, the red numbers in the clock of this same era, and because of a line she sang in one song. Because of that I think she has or had power on time or on the loop. But in here it looks like she can't control it, like she lost that power, or that maybe it is getting too big to control it. This is the same place as Chayri's solo, it is the Middle Earth, and Kim Lip has the same or very similar dress she wore when she called Chayri with a mirror. Actually I also have another idea. Remember in that teaser when Gwan had blonde hair and white clothes to represent Hasel's boybird? Hasel is also Kim Lip's mirror, and in Let Me In by Hasel she was also scared before killing the boybird, which reminds me of Kim Lip's expressions now. Okay, after her we see Heejin outside in the grass too. Are they going to meet for the midnight festival? There is still thunder and fire falling from the sky produced in So What. Look at how it looks like she was waiting for that moment and is being totally unbothered, like being immune to the fire like Olivia and all members now. We see Jinsu calling in the telephone. The wall behind has graffitis which we saw in our last video that it is connected to her and Vivi especially. The wall has a blue light, which is Jinsool's color, and inside the telephone it is red, which is Kim Lip's. Who is Jinsool calling? We already know that Time's calling was mentioned in lyrics and videos. Maybe she wants to encounter the members like I said before with Ijin. Anyways, outside of the telephone room, it is raining, like in her solo singing in the rain. But what is going to happen? Time stops, the rain stops too. Loona broke the frame. It is nighttime, of course, and she has a cherry, flowers and moon tattoos in her arm. The moon and cherry are obvious, but the flowers is an element of happiness and peace in the Looniverse. They are looking for the spring behind the secret door. Now that we see here that it is in Jinsool's scene when time stops, maybe she has more power than Kim Lip now. Did she steal her powers? After time stopped, we see YY dancing in a store and its products are all over the place. Maybe lunatic stuff they needed for their flight. Wait, Chari is with them even if that isn't her subunit really. Remember the description? In this video Loona will realize their true roles, so this is Chari's role. She took Goon's place. Chari already had a representative fruit more similar to theirs in comparison to Goon, and she has already been kind of called by Yves back in the day. So what about Odd Eye's circle? So if you remember, Chari came to the Middle Earth world because Jinsool put a cherry in her cake, and then Kim Lip called her with a mirror. We know that Chari has an odd eye, and that her color is a combination of Jinsool's and Kim Lip's, but if you think about it, she was like kidnapped into that new world, and maybe that is why her true role wasn't there. Since Kim Lip is the one to create the circle of Odd Eye's circle, she could be losing her powers because part of the circle isn't with her anymore. So is Jinsool the one staying with her powers?
Ooh la la, awe awe awe. Ooh la la, 왜왜 안 돼. 모두 나와 같이 rhythm with groove it.
Okay, remember we need to find out who is driving her car. Just after her scene we see two girls with a car. One of them is Vivi and the other is Chu. Vivi's part has a lightning similar to Jinsool's part, and Chu is in a total different place, with a different time of the day too. We will talk about her later. We finally see Yojin here. She is alone in the store like a solo subunit. The light color in the store changed, as well as the gravity. Well, actually important note here, I was saying that they stopped time in Jinsool's scene. It actually looks like they stopped gravity in the same Looniverse. There is no gravity now like in space because that's where they are.
주문을 외워보자 열랄로 멋진 이 밤이 만든 tomorrow. Take it to the right, take it to the left. Dance all night 나가는 대로 상상해봐도 이루어져 길이 나타나줘 절로 눈치는 보지마 그게 중요해. Don't kill my vibe, that's a no-no.
Now we see our first two members in a different place. It is black and white. My explanation to this scene is that remember that Loona is waiting for the new moon. Well, here Heejin is representing the moon and Hyunjin the sun. By this we could also interpret that Heejin is also her shadow. Another reason for that is that in her acoustic mixer name was written in yellow color. Remember the theory I told you that the girl's shadow could be their real selves, but that is just a speculation. It is also similar to an eclipse. We then see Olivia again. Now it is clear that the lightning we have been talking about since Jinsool's part is very similar to Olivia's egoist. This whole scene is similar to that. It is nighttime here. Remember the lyrics in day and night? Something is circling her all day, so she stays up all night. As you can see here, there are other girls with her that are not Loona members. We see these similarities with her solo in the eyes of hers, the wolf, and the car. At first I thought that the person driving the car could be Jinsool because of the rap in her solo and the reference. But now I am thinking maybe it is just herself driving it again, so the lyrics references we talked about before still make sense. Is it herself circling her mind? Remember, she is an egoist. She says don't kill my vibe, that's a no. Also it is Vivi singing with her in this part, and we saw Vivi in a car before. If we say it is her, it would feed a big theory that we know, but it is not her driving that one, and I will explain that later. Also, I am not leaving out the possibility that no one is driving it since we saw that happen in the past. But again I insist on Jinsul because of the Raffin egoist and because her part is next to her as if they are always together. As we saw before, that car looping around Olivia represents the phases of the moon. Apparently, we know that those phases happen in real life because the moon orbits around the Earth, so it feels like the car represents the moon orbiting around the Earth always, showing the same side, and Olivia in the middle being the Earth or the Looniverse. It also gives the feeling that Loona is waiting for the cycle to go to a certain point in time so they can restart.
아무 발걸도 말하지 뭐 그럴지도 난 대답하지 그 순간 쏟아진 시선 내 얼킨 쉽게 오해를 사는 내 눈빛 I'm not a bad girl 더 완벽히 넘어선 안 될 선은 지키지 그 모든 것들과 어긋난데도 난 내 중심을 지킬 뿐이지 달빛 축제 열린 밤 황홀해진 이 순간 가슴 벅차도록 눈부신데 지금 시간 듯이 눈을 감아보는데 날 위협는 네
Then we see Jinsul with a sign saying with all Loonas around the world behind her and the special apparition of her odd eye. Now the reason why it appeared on her and not the others could be because of what I said earlier, she's getting powerful. I also wanted to talk about their expressions they are making as if they are angry. From the lyrics you can see the message of feeling misunderstood. When Loona meant bad and so what, they meant free from the loop, but maybe they got misunderstood and things got more complicated. Because from the lyrics that are next to each other it seems contradicting. Then we see Heijin again, being surprised by the fire and not much else. It's interesting how Loona's norm is destroyed to create because of these parts of the music video. If they are starting a new cycle they must destroy everything behind. Then we see Yves. That car was the one Vivi was in and it is in the place she left it at, and I know that because of this. But also there are more cars for some reason. In the lyrics it say this place is where a moonlight part is being held. Well, it seems like she is looking for Vivi, especially, and that is interesting because they do have history if you know what I mean. Then we see Chi with her car in the daylight even though she is singing that it is midnight. Where is she? You guessed it. She's in the Iceland. This probably reminded you of the part when the moon burned in the end of So What, and it does look similar to it, but since it is not night it has a different explanation. There's midnight sun in Iceland. The name is very self-explanatory. Basically it's when the sun comes up in midnight. So now that we clear that, let's talk about the place that she is in and why it looks like this. She's in Iceland, which is in the earth. We already know Olivia burned this place, so is the spring and the flowers symbolizing that the fire and destroying work to bring the new season to Iceland.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's pump it up. Yeah. 어딜 보니? 나만 따라와.
Alright, don't get this one confused. We see Loona's first subunit 1/3 maybe dancing in. Where? You would think that this is the moon, right? Well, it is not. This is just the earth. First let's look at the unit. We have Heijin, Vivi, Yeojin and Gohan. Well, this isn't very similar to 1/3. First of all, Heijin is missing and second of all, Gohan is with them. Even though Yeojin is in a solo subunit, she is still part of the Earth Girls, so it is not surprised that she is included. We know that Yeojin is the slash in 1/3, and that's one thing that went missing in the intro. It could be because Yeojin isn't separated between them anymore, but the slash could have also just turned black, and I have something to say about that and I will later. Gohan, however, is. Why is that? Apparently all of the special members have realized their true roles in different subunits. Heijin is maybe on her own now, while Yeojin is still either with the Earth Girls or lost like in the past. Heijin and Vivi are still together. While Goan has given her place in YY by Y to Chari, and she's either taken Heejin's or Hasul's place between the Earth or 1/3 girls. Both Goan and Chari have in common that they are the special member of their subunit. Goan is the X in her subunit and Chari is the only one with the odd eye in her right eye. However, in this music video we don't see the Middle Earth girls together, and maybe it's because Chari left them. Last thing about this, we can't ignore their hair changes since we don't know if Hasul would be here. I'm just going to share in a speculation. Maybe Yeojin's shortcut is representing that she's replacing Hasul in 1/3 like Goan and Chari did to other members. Goan's hair color could also mean some sort of transformation again since her animal is a butterfly, and finally Vivi's hair, which we will get into in a minute because as I will mention again, these parts are most likely situated in a different point in the timeline and the reason will be shown later. Okay. Now that we clarified that, let's talk about this place. This is clearly the Iceland again, the same as Chu. These two clips most likely have a different point in time because the Iceland doesn't look the same in them, and just wait a little bit so I can explain that. Let's talk about the little moons hanging there. Aren't they similar to the ones that were around Kim Lip? My guess is yes. They are little moons that could represent something, but the phase or the light is different. Then we see Loona's around the world obviously, and after that we see Goan spreading a color powder and it is blue, like her hair. Blue is Jinsul's representative color too. What could that mean? We then see Yves kicking the camera and causing a glitch, which is the same as what Vivi did in So What with her graffiti spray. Now what we see later is key. This is the moon, not this, and not this. This. Obviously you can see the Earth from the moon now. So basically the story of this music video for now is showing us Loona looking for each other to host a midnight festival in the moon. But what are they doing in this festival? They are looping happily around the fire in reverse. Why are they doing this for? Is this the meaning for restarting a new cycle? It doesn't mean to start a new cycle, it is about becoming new again.
Let's pump it up. Yeah. Come on, 같이. 다시 바꿔봐. Let's burn it up.
Then we see Yeojin and Chu looking up at the moon from the Earth. When Loona looks up in the sky, it usually means they are looking at the moon because it is a mirror to them. Okay, so this is what I wanted to explain here. Both of these places Yeojin and Chu are in are the same. They are the Iceland, but they are in different seasons. Chu is in the spring, which for Loona means a new start and hope and happiness, while if you pay attention, the Iceland Yeojin is in has a red light, which you are probably familiar with because it means again, this is when the Iceland was burned. So these are different point in time. But there is a huge hint that points to the same direction later. Here we see Kim Lip flying, going to the moon probably. We then see Loona dancing all in their respective scenes. This part of Goan looks like she is with someone though. I'm sure you can assume why Olivia is the one to say let's burn it up. Here we see the members splashing the colors to each other in a place unknown to us for now. This looks so interesting. Here we see Olivia and her cult members. They are not Loona girls though. Is she recruiting people? The lights in the eyes are similar to the ones she had in Egoist. Okay, so this part is really important. The whole ending is. Here we confirm that Vivi was actually reaching out to Yves. There are apples hanging in the sky too. Let's talk about Vivi and Yves. What do you think Vivi is looking for Yves? Let's start with the obvious. Vivi and Yves already know each other from the past, as you know. They rollerbladed together back in Yves' solo. Actually, both of their solos are kind of retro themed, and the boy in Everyday I Love You was actually representing Yves, but since she hadn't debuted back then yet, they used him. Both of their stories are similar since they get brave and reach out to each other. However, in Vivi's point of view of their story is different than Yves'. Maybe it is because Vivi doesn't have her memories as clear since she's or was an android. This could also be the reason of her hair change. because it is similar to the Vivi that was portrayed in Yves solo. So is Vivi looking for Yves because she's remembering those memories? Let's not forget the apples. Yves has always thrown apples to reach other girls in other parts of the Looniverse, so she does it to communicate with them, and it also correlates with Yves' character because she sends apples to tempt the other members to become like her too. So are these apples that are hanging due to the gravity sent to her from Yves? Her expression is definitely similar to Nu too. Could this also be related to the countdown in the teaser because it didn't reach to Vivi's number, which is 5? So that's why she is behind looking for her? In Nu we also saw red numbers in an elevator that represented the floors of the Looniverse, where she went from Eden to the middle world to communicate with Chire to the earth to communicate with Vivi. Okay, now regarding to the place. Why are there a lot of cars here and why is there just one place with light? As Yves said before in the lyrics, this is where the moonlight takes place. So I think the members came here with cars or whatever and from this spot went fly to the moon? Since the moonlight is guiding them there. It sounds like UFO concept, too. Here we see Kimlet flying with the moons. Grass has turned purplish, reminiscing of Love Cherry Motion. Guess what was also there in Love Cherry Motion? In the span of a second we see someone with yellow powder. Is this the person that was with the Squan before? Could that be Hyunjin since yellow is her color? That could be possible and it would make sense, but it also could not be the case since blue isn't Goan's color either. If you can tell who it is, please feel free to tell me. Now we see the same clip as the beginning. We still haven't figured out who was driving this car, and I don't think we will be able to. In why not? Maybe when we analyze the lyrics. For now I'm just gonna assume it's herself because of what I suggested earlier in the video. Here in Jinsool's part we see the water reversing into rain due to the gravity, which is an important element about Jinsool. Does it mean that it's her new beginning since the rain hasn't rained now?
Why not do it? Ooh, la la.
Now we see that since Kimlip had flout, there is no one in this place that is possibly the middle world. Replacing her we see 12 moons, obviously for all of Loona members circling around. It can't be a coincidence that this music video has many similarities with Love Cherry Motion and the middle world. We can assume from the moon that we see in Chire's solo and the moons here that the girls all have different representative moons like they do mirrors. This is the same as what they are doing in the moon. They are even circling in the same direction as them, so could it be that the physical moons are also going in reverse? What we see after is really interesting. Here we see a Twister and Goan flying above in the atmosphere. This swirl is actually circling in the same direction as Loona and the moons we see before, as if they caused it. And the reason why we see Goan here is because of the butterfly effect, a very relevant power in regards to Goan. The butterfly effect is based on the idea that something as small and delicate as a flap of butterfly wings could cause toxicity in the other side of the earth. Because a flap of wings could affect something that affects another thing that affects another thing, and continuing with this cycle. This is very related to the chaos theory, which is basically the same. It is based on the idea that if all variables of a flap of wings or anything were studied, we could see the outcomes of anything that we do. Back in this teaser, Goan transformed this feather into butterflies and freed them, causing this butterfly effect. She is now flying in space or something. So is the new start of Loona based on chaos? Here we can see one of the members stepping back in the moon as it is in Revis, but she is wearing black Converses. Earlier, the members weren't wearing Converses, nor were they wearing black shoes. Are they now? I think this could mean that they have traveled in a time in the past where they wore those white Converses were worn by them firstly in Odd Eye Circle, and they also worn them in High, etc. Heejin was wearing them when she flew in the past. The white color usually represents pureness, being new, and brightness, as we see with their dresses too. Could black Converses mean they are in a dark part of the Looniverse too? See how the members stepped back with the black converses. The moons also stopped circling and are about to make another shape. Okay, this part is super important. We finally going to get into the timeline. Here Chu is looking at the midnight sun while being on the Iceland, but do you notice something in the sky? There is a plane falling, which we have seen in Hazel Solo in the past, and it is very important in the Looniverse. While Chu is looking at the midnight sun, Hyojin is looking at the moon, but she is also in the Iceland, which means these are different episodes in the timeline. The plane hasn't fallen yet in Chu's scene, and even though we don't know if it did in Hyojin's because we don't see it, we could assume it did, and that the Iceland that Hyojin is in, which is darker and less bright as the one Chu is in, is the way it is because that's the outcome of that plane falling. A tragedy. I also thought, what if it was the opposite? What if Hazel Solo isn't an episode that happened before Loona as a whole, that it is actually a message from the future? But I quit that idea because the feathers that Hazel's boybird left there were already there when Olivia burnt the Iceland and left it in this condition. So the most probable answer is Chu's clip is showing us an image of how the Iceland was in the start of another cycle that happened in the past. But remember something, if what Loona is doing is going backwards to reach a past point, could it be that they want to go back to when the plane hasn't fallen yet? And now the biggest question mark. What does the plane mean, and why is it too important? About the plane, I think that's a mystery that will be resolved next era, but let's keep theorizing about this part. Hyojin looks upset. She looks down at her feet, and you can see she doesn't have one of the converses, while one butterfly is flying from it. The butterfly being blue reminds me of Kwon's hair, so they probably changed it because of that. One shoe falling when it reaches 1200, doesn't it remind you of a fairy tale? Exactly. Cinderella. Actually, in the concept posters, Loona were wearing elegant dresses and black converses while walking in some stairs to the moon, which is also blue. So while going to that moon in the stairs, Hyojin's converse felt like Cinderella's. Theirs is actually a music video from Loona that reminds me of Cinderella's story. It is Hyojin's, the first music video. The reason for that is because you can see her cleaning the house and also the outfit changes. If the theory that Hyojin is Hyojin's shadow is true, this would make sense, wouldn't it? So if this part represents Cinderella, this would mean that Hyojin's dress disappeared because it was temporary and that she lost that shoe in space probably. I don't know if you remember, but my theory is that Loona traveled between places in the Looniverse in invisible stairs like flying. This part again reminds us of the end of So What when Olivia looks down too. Do you know what those endings have in common? Go on. Both of the things were partly caused by Go on. It also looks like Hyojin has been left alone too, which is sad, but after the credits we can see that she looks at someone. Is it possible that she isn't alone? Also, I want to prove the theory I mentioned earlier that Chu's scene is showing us a past point in the Looniverse. It is not the only one. Actually, I have read somewhere that this MV could be telling the story of the creation of the Looniverse, which in one part it could be true in my opinion. Here when we see the members coloring each other's, I also think that that is an old episode in the history of the Looniverse. But my main interpretation for this that goes with that same direction is that this is some start of the Looniverse or of the loop. This could be a reference of Kim Lip creating the Odd-Eye Girl Circle, and also this could be the creation of the Mobius strip, and most importantly, them splashing colors to each other in an unknown place could be a reference to the creation of colors in the Looniverse that each member have. That could also relate to the slash that disappeared in the beginning because it is a past point in the Looniverse. And it makes more sense because we see many members in the same places but in different times. And also because what they are doing through the music video, from the car to the girls in the moon to the physical moons to the twist, all of these are circling on the same direction, which is the opposite of the clock. They are traveling in time to the start. Okay, let's talk about the conclusion of this. We have seen many things. In summary, Loona is hosting a midnight festival at 12 o'clock. Many members are realizing their true roles in the Looniverse, and certain members are looking for each other and remembering the past. We also see curious things happening in the Looniverse, but one of the most important ones is the butterfly effect, which has reached its peak. For me, there are various ways to interpret the story that Why Not is teaching. It could a continuation of So What, but it is not that simple. It added episodes of the past of the Looniverse before the crash of the plane. We don't know much about the meaning of the plane, but we know that it matters a lot. Will Loona find spring again, or will they just keep destroying and get lost in the loop? Thank you for watching my theory of the Why Not music video. Just know we aren't done yet. The lyrics are very important, which you can expect to see the next from me. And there is also another music video this era, so I hope you can wait for too. Thank you so much.